Hello, everyone. I'll give you just a second to hop in here, get all your microphones and audio settings set. Perfect. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Hello and good day, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on overcoming challenges in accurate utility mapping. I'm Lily Kolish. I'll be your host for this session. We're thrilled to have you join us as we dive into this critical topic, exploring the growing demand for accurate utility mapping and some of the key challenges professionals are facing in achieving precision. So as we start to get into this topic, just a little bit on my background. I've spent 3 years in the field technology sector, focusing on data collection and mapping solutions. I'm currently the Director of Product Solutions here at PointMan by ProStar, where my main goal is to drive innovation and real-world application for field data use and asset management. On my team, I have with me Peter Schreier.
Good morning or good day to everybody. Peter Schreier, I'm the Chief Scientist and Engineer over at PointMan. I have about 20 years experience in the engineering and surveying sector, pretty much on every continent except Antarctica. My role at ProStar and in this webinar is to really answer any of your technical questions, primarily to do with the geomatics and GPS end of things. Lily?
Thank you, Peter. As part of this webinar, we have with us Radiodetection and Annemieke van der Vaart to speak on the product side. Annemieke, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure, yeah. Thanks, Lily. Hi, everyone. My name is Annemieke van der Vaart. I am a product manager at Radiodetection, and I look after the precision locator range. So this includes the RD7200, the H200, and also the H200 SG, which stands for survey grade, which is our latest product. And I'm based in Bristol in the UK.
Annemieke, great to have you here with us today. And to sit right alongside her, we have Thomas Turner, if you'd like to introduce yourself as well.
Hi, good morning or good afternoon, everybody. I can see that we've got a few visitors from the international market here. So as Lily says, my name is Tom Turner. I'm responsible globally for product management and radio detection marketing teams. So looking forward to a very lively roundtable conversation.
Thank you, Tom. So as infrastructure continues to evolve, the need for reliable, high-quality utility data has never been greater. Customers and stakeholders are now tending to expect a higher level of accuracy. Traditional locating methods are no longer becoming sufficient, and the ability to accurately share data seamlessly is becoming not only a want, but it's becoming a necessity. So as we start to explore the growing demand for utility mapping and some of the key drivers that are influencing this, Tom, what are some of the key factors that you are seeing are leading to the increased need for utility mapping?
So look, I mean, it's a really interesting question, and I think it's a question that we hear continually. One of the benefits that we have in radio detection is our international presence. We obviously serve markets in a variety of different countries, and the challenges are not unique to the US or any other country in particular. Underground utilities, the inherent risks are the same. They're buried underground. People have to do excavations. The challenges are very, very similar. An underground cable doesn't really care if it's in Germany or Georgia or anywhere else in the world. You're going to dig holes. It's going to be problematic. I think as we see how the industry has evolved over the years, there's been great strides in terms of improving, the safety aspect and, the processes around digging. And a lot of them contribute to how we can improve overall safety and damage prevention or damage reduction. But I think we can see a unique opportunity when it comes to very accurately identifying and being able to map underground utilities, because if you know where those utilities are to start with, you're always going to have to do locating and using a variety of different type of locator tools. But the more that we can exactly pinpoint and record where utilities are, it adds to that overall process of how we can reduce utility damages.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're working with so many different markets here in different sectors. You mentioned it doesn't care if it's in utility, doesn't care if it's in Germany or Georgia, right? Do you see one industry kind of leading this trend above any others?
Not so much industries. I mean, when we look around, we see, similar challenges. I think there's lots of different underground utilities in different types, and they've all got their own inherent risks. And, we can see that, if you dig up a street lighting cable, for example, it can have serious consequences because if it's a live cable at the time, the person doing the excavation is at quite acute risk. But I think as we see the evolution of accurate utility detailed mapping, a lot of the critical infrastructure, we're talking about, the major gas pipelines, oil pipelines, some of the main telecom fiber optic backbones. These are being heavily regulated in a lot of markets. We see it in the US and PHMSA. We see, through PHMSA regulations. We see it in France, where there's already regulations in place to be able to get detailed maps on certain utilities. So I don't think accurate mapping is getting used in every application, but it's definitely growing as people become more aware of the importance.
So we're seeing a lot of different industries responding differently, right? You mentioned France and some of the laws that have been implemented there. How would you say technology is responding to some of these needs?
Yeah, I think that the technology aspect is really interesting because radio detection probably put the first GPS hardware inside pipe and cable locators over 20 years ago. And like everything else, I mean, if you drive around in your car or even sit with your cell phone in your house and you go into Google Maps or whatever, you can see that the accuracy of it is not exactly great. And that's a fairly typical evolutionary explanation of where we've came in pipe and cable locators. Traditionally, we've had GPS equipment in there, but the accuracy's not been that great. So we used to be able to map utilities, and if you found yourself in the right street, you were very, very lucky. But I think as the hardware has evolved, more accurate types of antennas that can go into the pipe and cable locators, the types of GNSS chips that come from companies like u-blox, the adoption more widely of connection services, and then the mapping applications from companies like PointMan. We've got a real basket of products that all fit together and work very, very efficiently to allow users to do the accurate mapping of utilities that certainly with pipe and cable locators they couldn't do until a few years ago. And they could always do it with external GNSS equipment, whether it's tripods or poles. But I think we're now at the point where pipe and cable locators can actually do this for the purpose of mapping and locating at the same time.
Certainly. Until what I'll call modern day solutions were available, I think we saw exactly what you mentioned far too often. You'd pull out your GNSS receiver and you're sitting across the street from where you're actually located. And so that alone posed a lot of challenges in the mapping that was supposed to be done, right? And that's how we've ended up in the situation we're in these days. So, Tom, I appreciate your answers there. Real quick, I just kind of want to take a step back and approach the topic as a whole. What are some of the challenges the industry is currently facing in mapping? Anamika, if you'd like to speak to that.
Sure, yeah. So there's a couple of different challenges that we see. First of all, when people want to start mapping accurately is the utility maps, they are often inaccurate, they might be incomplete or missing altogether. So that's often the first challenge that people run into. And what we also see is that our customers, not all of them are GNSS experts, they're actually quite new to this. And when you start looking into the world of GNSS, there's a lot of jargon and there's lots and lots of acronyms. So it can get quite complicated and quite technical very quickly. And what we also see is that where the technology is, and it is still developing and it's moving at pace, but at the moment you need a few different tools. So you need your GNSS receiver, you need something like a mobile app such as PointMan, and you also need an RTK subscription. So it's knowing exactly which components you need and what is being offered in your region, because this can vary quite significantly depending on where you are in the world. And then getting everything to integrate and make sure that at the end of it, you can produce some sort of report or some output that really adds value to your business. And that's really where we see a lot of the challenges when our customers start mapping their utilities.
Certainly, and at least on my side of things, that's exactly what I'm hearing, right? I'm hearing people come to me every day, whether they're locators that are looking to enhance their deliverables by providing accurate GPS location of mapping. A lot of people just don't know where to start. I mean, that's a huge part of it. What accuracy do I need? What equipment do I need? And I don't know what a lot of this equipment means. Peter, I'll have a question for you here in a second. But real quick, I just want to mention our Q&A chat. If you do have any questions that you would like for us to answer, feel free to add those, and we'll call on you at the end here. I am going to launch a poll to see which industries you guys are in. So if you'd like to start answering those. Peter, I'll hop back to you. So as a technical expert, where would you say people should start, right? There's a lot of fancy, complicated words. You start, reading some of these columns on what GPS and GNSS receivers you should use. And honestly, it goes over my head for the most part. So just simply, where do people start? What do they need?
Essentially, I mean, you mentioned really the first question you should ask. How accurate do you need this? That is the fundamental major concern. When I get a client or customer coming to me and say, I need to do this, and I go, okay, what accuracy you need? Guarantee you every one of them says, oh, I need it as, centimeter or half inch, guaranteed X, Y, Z. And I go, are you willing to pay for that? There's a fundamental disconnect when everybody says, I need as high accuracy as I can, but failing to realize that becomes at an expense. If you're looking at the 2 to 3 meter level of accuracy, your phone will do that realistically. Once you get down to, I need meter level or sub-meter, then you're going up by several $100s. You're going to need a better receiver, a professional level antenna. And once you get down to, the foot level, 30 centimeters, at this point in time, and a little bit higher even, you're going to be looking at a correction service. There's just really no way around that. I know a lot of these companies are saying, oh, I can get, sub-meter without a correction service. Yeah, possibly. That's when you're kind of misconstruing accuracy and precision. So there's another issue there. But, a correction service can be your local base station, a local subscription to, or a free subscription to a VRS system or a broadcast system, or there are lots of commercial level VRS RTK networks, the ones from TopNet, Trimble, PointNav, all those are very good and very capable. And in most cases, you're going to pay depending on the accuracy. So at that point in time, you're going to look at it and say, you know what? I don't want to pay, $500 a month when, this $100 a month subscription is perfectly fine. And you got to look at your project and say, yes, this is what the client needs, and this is what I'm comfortable giving. Essentially, even at that point, it is your GPS receiver that you're going to look at. Your phone is not going to understand an RTK system. Sorry, it doesn't do that. So you're going to need a more professional level GPS system. Multi-frequency, L1, L2, L5, Galileo, GPS, GLONASS, all those are, the words that you're pushing out there, but they are ones that you're different constellations and different frequencies. Now, at that point in time, maybe you should talk to somebody who's kind of got a bit of an understanding on this and understand this is what you need. And, the last part there is, is the software, as Thomas and Enrique said. You have to be able to understand, put all this together, and how are you going to put all this together? You will be getting a lot of data very quickly, and you have to be able to look at the data and say, does it meet my needs? And for that, a bit of an understanding of what accuracy and precision is. In our PointMan software, we will give you all sorts of information, and we'll certainly train you to understand what it is, but it also, allows you to look at, say, quantitative measures of accuracy. And these are all there. So
Absolutely.
reach out to us anytime. We'll be happy to go over this for you, but it's a fairly complex process if you're not really familiar with GPS at this point.
Certainly, and we just threw a slide up here, speaking to how everything connects and works together. If Anamika or Peter, if either of you would like to speak to this slide, and just what we're looking at.
Go ahead, Anamika. I'll follow if you want.
Yeah, so and this is sort of a simplified version, but it does represent sort of the foundation of what you need in order to get started with accurate mapping. So you've got the satellites that are all in the sky. So you've got the various constellations. They send signals to base stations. We have the GNSS receiver, which is built into the RDH2SG, and then in combination with PointMan and your RTK subscription, that then has all the technology built in to give you that accuracy that you need. And it can be as accurate as sort of 1 to 2 centimeters or sub-inch.
Yeah.
So Lily,
And the great thing is that this works without necessarily understanding all the fundamentals. The whole point of the solution is that it actually gives customers what they need without becoming GNSS experts.
Mm-hmm.
But Corey, we've got a question in the chat already from Corey that's kind of talks a little bit around the system architecture. Should we try and deal with that right now rather than wait to the end, or do you want to wait?
Oh, I could answer that one fairly quickly. That's fine.
Yeah.
Esri based? No, it is not based on any specific Esri product. We do export shapefiles and geopackage, formats to Esri, and we do have an API connection into an Esri online system, but there is no direct connection or, partnership with Esri at this point in time. So no. I'll let you answer that other question that's a RD question. That's in the chat group there.
Yeah, so there was a question about iOS.
Yeah.
So there's a question from Andres. It says, connection to Apple product iPhone. Currently, RDH2SG Bluetooth signal is not recognized by iPhone. What updates are needed to pair iPhone 12, for example, to the RDH2SG? And I think this is actually a very, very good topical question, because we have launched iOS compatibility for the RDH2SG a few months ago now. We launched it back in November. All you need to do is a firmware update, which you can do via our PC application. So there's no additional cost, there's no change of hardware. And if you would like any more detail on this, then I would recommend to speak to your representatives or reach out to us separately. But the RDH2SG now is compatible with iOS.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for all the questions. Continue to throw those in as you have them. Don't be afraid to speak up. So as we were just looking at this slide between, the partnership, Anamika, why was PointMan chosen as a field collection software for the RD8200SG?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So actually, initially, when we were developing the RDH2SG, we were going to make it more of a closed loop kind of system. But as we were assessing the market and we were looking at what was out there, we actually knew that there's quite a few advanced solutions out there, and we know that PointMan is basically one of the leading mobile mapping apps out there. So we sort of did the old-fashioned thing, and we picked up the phone and we spoke to them and we said, hey, we're developing this product. You guys actually are already in this field. You have a ton of knowledge that we can learn from. Would you be willing and able to help us and work with us? And the team have been incredibly supportive from the beginning, and they've really helped us to be able to get this solution out there in the market. So it's been a really good relationship, and we're continuing to keep that going.
Absolutely. And we just received one more question. Peter, if you'd like to speak about converting files to DWG.
Yes, absolutely. DWG, no, at this point, we're still working on that, but DXF and DGN are available right now. So they will, DWG, we're working on it, but DXF will work just fine for that, for Autodesk.
Perfect. I appreciate that. So at this time, I'm going to launch another poll. This one is regarding whether you currently create utility maps or if this is brand new to you. I will give you a few minutes to answer these questions. And then, Anamika, I'm going to ask you to speak to how PointMan's been able to enhance the RD2 or the RD8200 SG's capabilities in the field. And we also have a video to show for that question as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, the PointMan app is really quite advanced. So customers, they can make notes and annotations as they go along. And what really helps with that user experience is that by using the RDH2SG in combination with PointMan is that users, they can build and view their map in the field as you go along, which is what you are seeing here on that little video. And it just having that visualization really helps. It also means that customers, they can continuously check their accuracy, because if you look at that black box in the top right, it always shows the accuracy and make sure that you've got RTK fix. And it also shows you that if for whatever reason your point might be out or it hasn't been taken, you immediately have your visual cue. So it immediately warns you to say that maybe something hasn't quite right, and you can go back and you can correct it in the field, instead of taking points, not really knowing whether it's all gone well, and only in your post-processing being able to spot if there's been any gaps. So the feedback that we've received from customers is that they really like having those visuals and seeing the map appear in front of their eyes while they're in the field.
And just here at PointMan, these are some of the initiatives that we've launched to help overcome some of these challenges in accurate mapping. We see that lifetime QA has been an issue, being able to see that accuracy come in as it's being collected, not having to leave the field to discover that something was miscollected and having to go back to fix that. We understand that accessing all of your records all in one place is very, very important to a lot of companies, as well as having every bit of information about the utility you possibly can. Those field sketches, photos, videos. You're oftentimes filling out test hole forms or locate forms, depending on what industry you're focusing in. And so being able to have all of that just at your fingertips, being able to walk back to it or see it from the field, see it from the office, is part of what we're striving to do to help overcome a lot of these challenges here. So it looks like with this poll I just threw out about creating utility maps, we're almost 50-50 here on whether people are doing it or not. So we'd like to hear from you on, what are some of those reasons that you aren't currently creating maps? If you have reasons for that, feel free to throw those into the chat. We'd like to speak to it as well. And Anamika, I have just one more question for you here. Is there a specific use case that you'd like to share with us and in which this technology has made a difference?
Sure, yeah. So I think quite a nice example is of a customer based here in the UK, and it's a water company, and they use the RDH2SG with PointMan when they're laying their new lines. And what this does, it allows them to provide the as-laid plans pretty much as they are putting the service in the ground, and they can send them over to the client without delay. And that's really where you see the value of being able to do this, to have those accurate maps, get it across to clients straight away. And also they have that for future reference. So when they come back in a year's time or in 5 years' time, they've got that data, and it should be very easy for them to find those lines. And that's just one example of very many.
Certainly. No, I appreciate you sharing that with us. We're going to go ahead and end this poll on creating utility maps. And one last one that we'll throw up before our last question here is whether you currently utilize PointMan or RD. We just want to have an understanding of, where our market base is and who we have attending with us here today. So looking forward, Tom, and I'll have you speak to this. Is there anything in store that we need to watch out for? What's the future here for RD and the 8200 SG?
Well, I think, for me, the most important thing is making sure that we keep abreast of not only the technology that's on the near horizon, but scanning innovation for what's coming down the pipe. And that's one of the reasons why, the collaboration that we do with companies like PointMan is really important. because it enables us to collectively work across the industry to try and understand trends, make sure that we're understanding customers' needs. And, even in the short space of time since we launched the SG, there's been new GNSS chips come out. There's been new RTK correction services. We've redesigned the antenna. You can imagine what's happening in the future. There's RTK corrected cell phones that are coming onto the market. There's possibility to do accurate mapping through a combination of LiDAR and 5G triangulation between masts. I think the future is probably something that we can only imagine at this point. I think it's going to be really fast moving. And I think that's where we intend to stay ahead of the curve.
Certainly. Absolutely. Thank you, Tom. We've had a few more questions dropped in here. One, I find this really interesting. What advice do you have for companies transitioning from traditional locating methods to advanced utility mapping?
I think, first of all, I think don't be afraid to ask for help, because I think this is something that's new to a lot of different people. I think one of the things that I really like about the way the industry is progressing, and this is a good example of it, is that the collaboration and the amount of free help that's available is quite astounding, actually. You could contact us at Radiodetection or our colleagues at PointMan, for example, and, Peter touched on it earlier, trying to understand what is the level of accuracy that you would like to get? What's the problem that you're trying to solve? Do you want localized digital maps? Are you trying to integrate into either Esri or AutoCAD? There's a lot of people out there that are going to give you free help. And, if you need any further help, reach out to any of us individually, or, send us some more information. We'd be glad to hold your hand and help you through that transition.
Yeah, I can add on a little bit tonight. Thank you, Thomas. And Thomas, you're absolutely correct. We are a very, small community in the geospatial, and always have been, even though we're global. There's never any problem reaching out to me. I'm sure Lily will tell you the same thing. You can go and ask her a question and she'll just pass it along to me, and it's absolutely not a problem. So reach out to us, reach out to the companies you're working for. If they can't help you, well, maybe you need a different company. We will be there to help you. And, traditional locating methods, will transition quite easily to more of the advanced utility mapping. It is the tools that you're using. We're not out there to change your process. We're here to add on to it, to make it a little easier for you. In that case, just reach out to us. We're always willing to help you.
I always say that we want to meet you where you're at, right? No matter what you're currently doing, what solutions you're currently using, hardware, software, or otherwise, we want to come meet you where you're at. Slowly start with implementation so it doesn't feel overwhelming. If you're using the right resources, it shouldn't feel overwhelming, right? If you're talking to the right people, you should have everything that you're looking for. And then from there, we slowly transition to having everything that you want it to be versus, just throwing it all at you at once, right? We've got a few other questions here. If you guys would like to pick and choose some of these.
Okay, I can get the one from Darren there. The issue for contract locators ultimately becomes ownership of collected data. Great point. In our platform, collected data is owned by you. It's stored on our cloud, a private cloud, AWS in our case there. But the ownership of that data is strictly up to you and your client. As far as we're concerned, it's yours, and your contractual relationship with whoever you're doing the locate for, it's up to you. We do not retain any ownership of it. Easy way to answer. Okay, I guess the next one here. When a locating technician is following a signal and GPSing it, does your system have an option to flag to administrative staff when a GPS point is being placed on a subpar locating signal so it can be out of the field? Short answer, yes, absolutely. We have Sorry, go ahead, Annie. You can do this better than I can.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Sorry to interrupt. No, I was going to say, yes, this is absolutely possible. So there is when you're locating, you can press what we call the survey measurement button. It's the graph key, and basically, when you then look at your data, you can see your signal strength. So you can very easily pick out where you took that point and then tie it back to that low signal strength. So that can absolutely be part of your of your post-processing. So you should be able to look into that.
Yeah. Just to add on a little bit to that, and Mika did a great job of that. In our system, it will record all that information. And if you want to, you can look at it in real time as what's happening. The person in the office can also be looking at that in real time within a few seconds as it transmits up to it. Say, oh, wait a minute, there's a problem here. Communicate back to the person in the field saying, let's try this one again, or there's a problem here. So that is one of the strengths of a more advanced mapping system, is real-time understanding of what is going on.
Absolutely. And I can actually speak to this last one here from Mary. You're speaking to the cost of PointMan, and a lot of systems tend to be more costly, especially even our enterprise solution can be a little more costly to entry-level companies or small businesses. That is something that we pride ourselves in. We have different pricing tiers for different level of companies. So Mary, I'd love to speak with you afterwards and find something that absolutely fits for you. And Bob says, does PointMan need cellular connectivity to work in the field? The simple answer is no. Our cloud-based platform does need a Wi-Fi or cell service in order to upload data to the cloud. However, we absolutely have an offline data collection mode that allows you to pre-download your data sets and maps to view in the field. If you know you're going out to a job site that doesn't allow for that sort of service. It will also allow you to collect all of your data, whether it be photos, videos, forms, locate and GPS, GNSS data. It will save it locally to your device until you do get back into service, and it will upload to the cloud, allowing for that data sharing amongst your team. So really, really great questions here.
There's another one from Munir. So it says, sometimes some cables or pipes are near walls and trees, and then we lose the correction signal. Please advise. Peter, is that one that you wanted to answer?
I mean, yes, that is an actual, that is a problem, and there's really nothing you can do about it, unfortunately. That is a limitation of GPS. Now, that being the case, that's also a function of your GPS system, right? A more expensive GPS system or a more capable GPS system will mitigate that. But, that's going to happen in any case. There are ways of saying, okay, we have an offset of 3 meters to the right or left and things like that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There's nothing we can do about losing a correction signal as a function of your GPS. I'm going to be honest with you on that.
I guess what would be interesting then is what is it that you're trying to achieve? Because if you are following a utility and you're mapping it, and then there might be the odd point on the tree where the point is slightly out because you're in RTK float instead of RTK fix. Yeah. Can you still follow the path, and therefore is that still good enough? So it would be interesting to see what the desired output is, and if it's something that can be rectified in post-processing.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Thank you, Anika. Yeah, you could probably post-process that and get a better solution and then bring that back into the system. Absolutely. We do support you going back into the point and saying, okay, this has been post-processed, the now position of this is now this. Absolutely not a problem. But this is, this is something that you may want to talk to us afterward and say, how do I do this, or what's the best way to do this? This is a GNSS question. So please feel free to reach out to us on that.
Appreciate your answers there. We had an excellent question regarding support. So PointMan, we are a US and Canadian based company. All of our support team is based here in the US, actually in Colorado. That being said, our support is 8:30 to 4:30 Mountain Time. So as we have started to break into international markets, we understand that that's not the same time zone that everyone's working in. And that has posed a couple, hiccups in workflows in the past in getting in contact with support. Because if you have questions about pairing, about a potential bug in using the system. Being able to get on the phone with someone is the simplest way to solve that. And although we do have online resources like our help apps, Q&As, video tutorials, being able to call someone and just chat with them live time is very important. So as we've started to break into this new European and UK-based market, this is something that we're starting to think about for the future. Because we understand that's a critical part of using software is having the support to back it. So thanks for that question. We are 100% working at it for the future. Is there anything else anyone would like to ask? Perfect. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here then. We appreciate everyone hopping on as we have focused on, some of these challenges that we're looking to overcome in utility mapping. A lot of it being we don't know where to start, right? And I think Peter spoke really, really well to that. Just starting off with identifying what accuracy you need, finding a GPS receiver, a correction service, and the software to run it, right? That's the first place you guys need to start. Aside from that, we look forward to seeing you on our future webinars. For PointMan products, you can find us at pointman.com as well as LinkedIn. We're fairly active on there. And for radio detection, it's radiodetection.com with LinkedIn as well. If you have any sort of other questions, if you'd like to see a demo of either of our products, we're more than happy to show that to you. And until then, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.